Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Kesubos, Parak Vav, Chapter 6, Mishna Aleph, Mishnah 1. Okay. Metzias ha'isha ma'asiyadeh labala. When a woman finds, and we're talking about she finds an object that the finder can keep it, halachically, that what she finds, umay siyadeha, and what she works, the handiwork, her handiwork, meaning what she either the earnings she makes or the products that she creates, labaila, they all go to her husband, which is something we learned before. Now, virushasa, now her inheritance. That means if, let's say, she inherited something from her father's family, she's the heir to her father, and she inherited. So it comes out now that she has inherited a piece of land. What happens to that Yerusha? What happens to that inheritance, that piece of land? Hu oichel peres b'chayeha. He eats the fruits during her lifetime. That means that this property, the property itself, she is the owner of the property. Whatever the property produces belongs to the husband. So if you grow crops on this property, he owns the crops. If the property has a house on it and the house is rented, he gets the money. This is an example of what's called nichsei malug, a property that she brings into the marriage or comes into the marriage, like through inheritance. It is hers. The body of the field itself belongs to her, but what the body produces belongs to her husband. Now, let's say this field doesn't produce anything. It doesn't produce crops. It's not doing anything. So what happens, and that's what I don't know exactly what the case of that is, but whatever the case is, it's a piece of land that's not too productive. Okay, and that's the property she inherited. The halacha is you sell it, whoever's going to buy it, you sell it, and then you buy a field that is productive with the money, and the fruits go to him. This idea that the payers of her property, the product of her properties goes to him, goes that far. That if it's not producing anything, that you sell it and then buy a property that will produce. And the property itself will belong to her, while the product belongs to him. What difference does it make if she's not getting the produce, if she doesn't get what the field produces, but we say it's hers? What difference does that make? Well, one difference it makes is the fact that if he dies before her, she retains ownership of the field. It doesn't go over to his heirs. If he dies, it's her field completely, and then she can take the products from it. However, if she dies first, he inherits that property completely, because the rule is that whatever belongs to a wife, and she dies in her husband's lifetime, he inherits it. So if she dies before him, he will become the heir, the owner. She inherits that property completely. Now, and that's why it's pointed out, the Mishnah says he eats fruits during her lifetime, because if she dies, he's not just eating fruits. The whole thing belongs to him. Next. Bashta upagama shala. Her embarrassment and her devaluation belongs to her. Now, what this means is like this. All right? The halacha is one who injures another person must generally pay for 5 types of damage. You damage another person. You physically damage the person. The halacha is there are 5 things you have to pay for. And the list is shame. There's a certain shame that comes out of being damaged, injured. Devaluation. The Torah says that every person has a certain monetary value. If that person would be sold as a slave, they would bring in a certain amount of money. Now, this woman, before she was injured, or any person, before they were injured, right, they had more value than after they're injured. So there's that devaluation has to be paid to the person that you injured. Pain, you have to pay for the pain that you caused. Medical expenses, and an ability to earn income because of the injury that you brought upon that person. Okay? Now, we're talking about someone now damaged a woman. He injured a woman. Our Mishnah mentions only 2 of these, the shame and the devaluation. Meaning our discussion is, as we're going to see, what she gets paid for the shame that's caused by the injury that the person inflicted upon her, or the devaluation that she experiences because of the injury that was inflicted upon her. This is what our Mishnah points is going to focus on. Who gets it? Does she get it? Does the husband get it? So now the Mishnah says, "Bashtu pagama shalah." The first opinion of the Mishnah is that her shame and her devaluation goes to her. It belongs to her, not to him. It belongs to her. Now, even if it belongs to her, right? Even if she gets it, even if she gets the money, right? What happens to that money?
The husband grabs it.
No, you have to take that money and invest it in a field, invest it in karka, invest it in real estate, so that she owns the body and the products belongs to the husband. Okay, so at the end of the day, he's going to get something out of it. But the question is, does the money go straight into his hand, or does it go into her hand? But then she has to use the money chest to invest it in real estate so that the products of it can now go to the husband. All right, so the first opinion says that it goes to her completely. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says, Bizman shebeseser, if we're talking about a injury that is hidden, it's on a hidden part of her body, okay? So then he says, Lo shnei chalakim v'lo echad. She gets 2 portions, he gets 1. She gets 2/3, he gets 1/3. Why is he getting anything? So the answer given by the Gemara, brought down here in the notes, is the husband receives a portion of these payments because a wife is halachically regarded in some respects as the husband's own person. Ishtay kagufay. A person's wife is like him, and therefore an attack on her is like an attack on him. So there's a certain degree that we see that he has, so to speak, been injured. And therefore, you get a portion. The husband gets a portion. Doesn't get the majority of the portion, but he's going to get a portion. But that's if we're talking about that the injury took place on a hidden part of her body. Ubezman shabagoli. But in a situation where the injury is on a part of her body that's exposed, lo shnei chalakim v'lo echad. He gets 2/3 and she gets 1/3. Very interesting. Why is that? So for instance, if the injury is an exposed part of her body, such as her face, neck, or hands, in which cases the husband also suffers, meaning in this case, it's more than just, an injury to my wife as an injury to me. Here there's a certain suffering that he goes through because of an injury when the injury is an exposed part of the body. What is that suffering? What is that suffering that he goes through? So it's brought down here, if the injury can be seen, the husband is embarrassed. Certain embarrassment is just a natural kind of reaction. In addition, he suffers in that she looks repulsive. Now, so that's also something that he has to deal with. So therefore, it comes out in this case that he will actually be getting more than the case before. He's going to get 2/3 and she's going to get 1/3. The Mishnah continues, Shalom yinasan miyad. Now, what goes to him in both, according to Rabbi Beseira, whether it's 1/3, whether it's 2/3, his is given immediately. That means the payment goes straight to him. The shalah, but the payment, any payment that goes to her, yilakach behen karka, you buy real estate with it. You buy karka, you buy real estate with it. You buy land with it. And he eats the produce. So again, if she gets the money at the end has to be invested in land. She will be the owner of the land itself, and the produce will go to him. Okay. All right. So we're continuing in the situation of Rechilas, where a person already bought something. He was cheated, and he has the means to be able to get the money back that is owed to him. Further, you need to get back money for the fact that he was cheated, and the Chaim is going through the conditions needed to be able to do so. So the 5th condition that he mentions is she'ha'ishu misaperloi li'abetiva he'lachrachel. The person you're telling this to should not be a person who then goes and talks about things. The imhu makiru mida guru azu, because if you realize this person has that bad trait, what he's going to do, right? When he goes back to the storekeeper who cheated him, he's going to say, so-and-so told me that you cheated me. Okay, that person just committed rechilas when he did that. Or so-and-so told me that you overcharged me, that it's not such high quality. Now the question is, he says, Sarachim, which has a question, if you cannot tell him the truth. On one hand, you're saving him from a loss. On the other hand, you're causing him to speak rechilas. That if he's able to evaluate that if you tell him, don't tell him that I told you, that he'll listen to you. Yasakain, that's what you do. Meaning, if you tell him not to tell him who told you this, right? That means he won't speak to rechilas. If you think that if you tell him not to, he won't do it. So then that's really enough to say that I'll tell him what happened so he can protect himself and not be concerned that he's going to speak rechilas by saying who told him about the fact that he was cheated. Have a wonderful day. A good tavach. Shua tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.